Hello everyone, so welcome to my Wednesday forecast, and let's take a look at what the euro has been doing for the last day. So what I was seeing this large impulse to the downside, and then I wanted to see a continuation entry, but what we actually got is we broke the low and retraced, signaling to me that the move to the downside has ended and price is most likely to push to the upside. So then what happened when we pushed to the upside? Well, we had this really nice impulse again, and we created this V reversal, and then we broke the high retraced, also signaling to me that the momentum to the upside has ended. And from that point I was looking to see an impulse to the downside. So we then broke the low, retraced, broke the low, got continuation, and now got some momentum. So this was a V reversal, and I was seeing if we can get a V and then a range and then an impulse in the same direction, then look for a flag. But we actually dropped to a downside, so that trade is negated. And currently I am seeing this large impulse. Well, it's not that large, but it's impulsive, and I am seeing if we can get either a flag, then I would consider entering it. It all depends on the price action, or maybe we get a bullet entry. So this was the break, and then we get a retest. We can just stay ranging right here and get something like this, because we got this V, and usually a V reversal signals to us a range, so that is a possibility. Also, what can happen, we can get more of an impulse, then I will look for a flag, or we can also get a further push, pullback, another push, break, and a retest. So that can also happen from this point. So we can get a pullback from here, then another push, and then a retest. So that is also a possibility. We can get a descending from here, and if it's a clean descending, I would look for an impulse to the upside, then a flag, or a bullet entry, so one of the two. Also, we can get another V reversal from here, then I would look for a range, look for an impulse to the upside, and then a flag. So this would then form a V. Or we can get a nice large push, and then I would also look for a flag. And we can get a push, pullback, another break, then a retest, so a bullet trade. The last possibility I have is that we can get an ascending that breaks the high, then we can get a push to a downside, and then maybe get a flag opportunity to enter short. So yeah, those are some of the possibilities. And also what I need to keep in mind, if price does range around here, that there are liquidity areas above and below the range, and we need to see what happens when the price reaches the liquidity areas. So does it just break and retrace back into the range, or does it break with conviction? So definitely something to keep in mind if we do get a larger range. Currently, so I'm seeing a V reversal, and I'm expecting just a larger range, but this is also showing me momentum to the downside. So if I get a high probability setup, I would definitely be entering it. But as I said, I'm cautious because I'm seeing a V, and I'm expecting just ranging price action. So yeah, let's now move on to Euro and the Japanese yen. This one to me is heavily range bound, so this pair is not really showing me any momentum either to the downside or to the upside. We broke the low, retraced with huge wick, then we broke the high, retraced with double wicks. So currently this is just heavily range bound, and what I can forecast is that we will get more of this price action. So something like this, more ranges. What I need to keep in mind is that there are liquidity areas, so below right here and above, and you can see what happens when the price reaches them. So we create wick, retrace, huge wick, retrace, huge wick, retrace. So you can just see how the price reacts in those areas. So you know that you want to be careful if we do maybe get an impulse that reaches the liquidity area and then a flag, I would know to be very careful because this can just retrace back into the range. So yeah, that is definitely something to keep in mind. What I would like to see is a nice large impulse to downside. Just a second. Nice large impulse to downside, look for a flag. Or a nice large impulse, pull back another impulse, look for a break and a retest. We can also get descending from here, and we would still be range bound. But maybe if we do reach the liquidity areas in a corrective fashion, so taking out the stops from the liquidity area, and then we get a nice big push to the upside, then I will look for a flag. So that is also a possibility. Or maybe we can get an ascending from here, and then a large impulse to downside, then a flag. Again, this is to me heavily range bound, so this price action really needs to be clean for me to look for any trades, because you know when we are range bound, we can just stay in the range and we can get an impulse, but it doesn't have to continue with the momentum. So yeah, definitely something to keep in mind, to be alert when we see this sort of price action. Also, so what I can forecast to the upside, we can get a push, get a nice flag, or we can get a push and then break and a retest, so a nice bullet trade, or a break and a retest trade, same thing. And that is it for the euro and the Japanese yen. As I said, currently sitting on my hands, I'm seeing this, and to me it's a heavy range. I want to see some momentum, I want to see a nice impulse, and I want to see a high probability setup. Now let's move on to the Aussie and the US dollar. Let me just move my lines. Okay, what we got the V reversal, then we got this range, which we knew to expect, because after a V reversal, it is high probability that we will get ranging price action. So we were breaking the lows retracing, breaking the highs retracing. We got some momentum here, but it wasn't enough for me. I wasn't looking for, let's say, this setup. So there was a setup that this was the most recent high, and then we pulled back. So right here would be the entry point, but this was also spread hours, and to me this just didn't fit my plan, because we were in a range and it just didn't look good to me. So I didn't enter it at this point, but currently we then broke the high and got some continuation of the momentum. So we will see if we get now a nice impulse and then a flag, or if we get a push, pull back, another push, break and a retest. That is also a possibility. Or maybe we just retrace back and get more of a range because of that V reversal. That is also a possibility. We can get an ascending from here, and if it's a clean ascending, I will look for an impulse to downside, look for a short trade. Or we can get a descending. If it's a clean descending, I would look for an impulse to the upside and a long trade. Also, what can happen, we can get a large impulse to downside, look for a flag. Or get an impulse, pull back another impulse, look for a break and a retest. So also a possibility. And yeah, that is it. That is it for the AU. I was seeing a V. I was expecting this range. To me, this setup just didn't fit my plan, because we also got a V if you think about it. So it just went up and went down with the same sort of momentum. And because we were range bound and spread hours, I stayed out of this trade. But currently, I think it would be in profit. So yeah, that is it for the AU. And now let's take a look at the Aussie and the Japanese yen. What I wanted to mention is that we did get, I did have a missed trade right here, which I forgot to talk about. So let me take this back. At this point, I was seeing this large impulse, small pause, and then a continuation of the momentum, one candle pullback and a continuation, clean close right here. So at this point, I would have set my order at the most recent so bullet level, which would be right here, but unfortunately I missed the trade. So At this point I would still have my pending order, and then I would get tagged in, and maybe I would close it out with a small profit. But yeah, this was a missed trade. I was on my phone and just didn't see it. So definitely something to look at in the future and see if I could have done something different at that point. But yeah, it would have been a small win, but it's just what happens. Missed trades will be there. So right here we had this impulse to the upside from a descending, then we had a 1 candle pullback continuation, and then we broke the low, retraced, and currently we are in this range. So now we are seeing some momentum out of the range, and to me this does look good, but I need to see what happens next. So maybe we get more of the momentum and then get a flag, or we get more momentum, push, break and retest, or we just retrace and continue with the range. That is also a possibility, because we are range bound at this point. To me personally, we can get an ascending, then I would look for an impulse down and a flag, or a bullet, something like this. We can get a large impulse to the downside. I would also look for a flag, or we can get a large impulse, pull back, another impulse, break and a retest. That is also a possibility. Or we can get a descending, and if it's a clean descending, I would look for an impulse to the upside and a flag. But then again, that would be an ascending into a descending, so I would need to be careful, because then that would be heavy range bound price action, and I would need to see a really high probability setup. So definitely something to keep in mind. This impulse does look good, but I want to see what happens next. It's not really good for me yet because of this prior price action, so we will see. Yeah, that is it for the forecast. The market seems to be pausing for a bit here. Let's see if we get some moves today or tomorrow, and see if we can get some entries.